Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Banda Mui Savadana Mate Banda Mui Savadana Mate Sahara Prasadeva Evavatariya Yahara Prasadeva Evavatariya Krishna Bhakti Hoya Hoite Krishna Bhakti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chiteti Koriya Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chiteti Koriya Arana Koriyo Mane Aka Arana Koriyo Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Yai pasare pure sava asha Yai pasare pure sava asha Chakaranda dilo de gamme gamme pabu se Chakaranda dilo de gamme gamme pabu se Divya Gyani Re Bhakatito Divya Gyani Re Bhakatito Prema Bhakti Yaha Eke Abhija Vinasayate Prema Bhakti Yaha Eke Abhija Vinasayate Vedegaya Harakarito Vedegaya Harakarito Antiguru Karuna Sindhu Adamata Narabandhu Shiguru Karuna Sindhu Adamata Narabandhu Alokana Lokana Jivana Alokana Lokana Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Hamare Khara Chaya Ha 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 Prabhu Kora Doya De Hamare Khara Chaya Hriya Siti Bhuvana Hriya Siti Bhuvana Shiguru Karuna Sindhu Adamata Narabandhu Shiguru Karuna Sindhu Adamata Narabandhu Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokana Lokera Jivana Prabhu Kora Daya De Hamare Para Jaya Prabhu Kora Daya De Hamare Para Jaya Hriya Siti Bhuvana Dua Parala Sharana Jaya Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Srila Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Prabhu Pada Jaya Prabhu Pada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayadvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda, Gaura Hari, Jai Satchidananda, Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Satchidananda, Jaya Satchidananda, Jaya Satchidananda Gaura Hari. Satchidananda Gaura Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala 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 Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jai Krishna Balaram. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jai Krishna Balaram, Jai Krishna Balaram, Jai Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe, Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe, Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Nitai Go Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Go Hari Bo. Nitai Go Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Go Hari Bo. Nitai Go Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Go Hari Bo. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Vishnu Paramahansa Parvata Kachaya Satarata Shishmat, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnavini Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Shikaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gokapuna, Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mathur Dham Ki Jai, New Raman Reti Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Ki Jai, Harinam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
What happened to the garland? Probably wasn't one or I don't know. Hare Krishna. So I'm just going to make a few brief announcements. Today is a very special day. It is Purnima. It is Sri Balaram Rasa Yatra, Sri Krishna Vasant Rasa, the appearance day of Sri Vamsi Vadana Thakur, the appearance day of Sri Shamananda Prabhu, and it is the 30th wedding anniversary of Dhruva Maharaj and Samapriya Prabhu. Hari Bol. Very auspicious. They sponsored the Mangal Sweets. Where are they? To come in here and get the blessings of all the devotees for a continued life in Krishna consciousness together. Haribol. You may know Samapriya and Dhruva Prabhu have a long-running online course in Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, other classes. And it's so wonderful. So many people have connected to Krishna consciousness online through their course. And many have become initiated devotees. So it's a very, very special and wonderful service that they do. Hare Krishna. All right, tomorrow is the Festival of Colors, Holi. So I'm reminding you that if you signed up for service, please come and do the service. Be responsible for that. If you still want something to do, let me know. We'll find something for you. Today at 10 a.m., Keshava Prabhu is going to start setting up out on the field. If you have any time at all, please help him. He needs as many hands as possible. Also, during class, we're going to do a little cut up in the kitchen. There's a little bit left to do. And then again, tomorrow at this time, we're going to be doing the prep work in the kitchen. So if you're available for that, we would appreciate your help. These are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master dressing the deities today. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar, Ramanya Prabhu, Chota Radha Sham Sundar, Ananda Vardhani Prabhu, Shri Krishna Balaram, Akuti Prabhu, Chota Krishna Balaram, Panchali Prabhu. Welcome back to Akuti. She was in India for 3 weeks. Haribol. Chota Krishna Balaram, Panchali Prabhu, Shishi Gaurnitai, Jai Gauri Prabhu, Chota Gaurnitai, Leela Prabhu, Guru Sanlor Nishingadev, Avaduta Nitai Prabhu. And His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami is visiting us for a few days, and he's outside coming in to give class. We're happy to have him here. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna. Yeah, we could do that too. Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Punaman Supariprad Yukacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Punaman Supariprad Yukacharya Ashtotra Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shriva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Radha Kunjiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Okay, as soon as that box is out of the way, I'll see the number, and then we'll be in business. Well, 1063-26. Okay. Those with better eyes. 26, huh? So it is. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kalo Daivam Karma Jivaha Swabhavo Dravyam Kshetram Atma Vikaraha Tat Sankhato Bija Roha Prabhavas Swan Maya Mayaisha Tan Nishedham Prapadye Kalo Daivam Karma Jiva Swabhavo Dravyam Kshetram Prana Atma Vikaraha Tat Sankhato Bija Roha Pravahas Tvan Mayaisha Tan Nishedham Prapadye Kalo Daivam Karma Jiva Swabhavo Dravyam Kshetram Prana Atma Vikara Tat Sankhato Bija Roha Pravahas Tvan Mayaisha Tan Nishedham Prapadye Daivam Karma Jiva Swabhavo Karma Atma Vikara Tatsanghato bija roha pravahas Tadvan Shetham prapadye Kalo daivam karma jivasya bhavo Travyam kshetram prana atma vikara Tatsanghato bija roha pravahas Tvanmaya shatan nishedham prapadye Kalo daivam karma jivasya bhavo Dravyam kshetram prana atma vikara Roha pravahas Tvanmaya shatan nishedham prapadye. Ladies. Kalo daivam karma jiva svabhavo Dravyam kshetram prana atma vikaraha Bijaroha prabhas Tamaya aisha tanshidam prapadye Kalo daivam karma jiva svabhavo Prana atma vikara Roha pravahas Tanmaya shatan nishetam prapadye Kalo daivam karma jiva shabhavo Dravyam kshetram prana atma vikara Tatsanghato bijaroha pravahas Tvanmaya shatan nishedham prapadye Kalaha Time Daivam Destiny Karma The reactions of material work Jivaha the individual living entity. Swabhavaha, his propensities. Dravyam, the subtle forms of matter. Kshetram, the body. Pranaha, the life air. Atma, the false ego. Vikaraha, the transformations of the 11 senses. Tat, of all this. Sankhataha, the aggregate, as the subtle body. Bija, of seed. Roha, and sprout. Pravaha, the constant flow. Tvat, your. Maya, material illusory energy. Esha, this. Tat, of it. Nishedham, the negation. You. Prapadye, I am approaching for shelter. Is there any water nearby? Time, fate, karma, the jiva and his propensities, the subtle material elements, the material body, the life air, false ego, the various senses, and the totality of these as reflected in the living being's subtle body. All this constitutes your material illusory energy, Maya, an endless cycle like that of seed and plant. I take shelter of you, the negation of this Maya. Purport. The word bija roha pravaha is explained as follows. The conditioned soul accepts a material body with which he attempts to enjoy the material world. That body is the seed, bija, of future material existence. Because when a person acts with that body, he creates further reactions, karma, which grow, roha, into the obligation to accept another material body. In other words, material life is a chain of actions and reactions. The simple decision to surrender to the Supreme Lord releases the conditioned soul from this futile repetition of material growth and reaction. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Hari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kalo Daivam Karma Jiva Svabhavo Dravyam Kshetram Prana Atma Vikara Tatsanghato Bijuroha Prabhahas Tvan Mayaisha Tan Nishedham Prapadye. Many technical terms here. The explanation is given of Bija Roha Pravaha, the constant flow of the seed and the sprout. The seed gives birth to a sprout, the sprout finally matures and gives seeds, the seeds create the sprout, and around it goes. And we understand that this is our situation. Our desires cause our entanglement in material existence, which obliges us to accept another body. And in that next body, again, desires again, and around and around. The Buddhist philosophy also has this understanding, but they have a very curious doctrine called interdependent origination, in which the same cycle is going around. They get into a more technical description of it, but it's all going on independently. The desires give rise to clinging gives rise to attachment and rebirth. Rebirth gives, again, the same thing. But they can't explain why this cycle is going on. And they can explain why it's going on internally, but why is there a cycle like this at all? Why should it be that desires cause rebirth? Why should it be that rebirth causes desires, and so on? They can't explain why such a complex arrangement exists. How from nothingness this very elaborate cycle proceeds. But we get information from the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord himself, Aham Sarvasya Prabhuva, is the origin of everything. Mata Sarvam Pravartita. Everything comes from Krishna. And when one surrenders to Krishna, then one gets freed from material existence. This is the goal of Buddhist philosophy also, nirvana, negation of all this material trouble. But how this, for them that nirvana is something impersonal, void. It's realizing that I don't really exist, that I have the false sense of being an individual entity, and that's the cause of my trouble. And if I can dismantle that false ego, then the problem is gone. I no longer exist, so my suffering no longer exists, which Srila Prabhupada called spiritual suicide. You kill the patient and the fever is gone. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the words tan nishedham prapadye indicate that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is nishedhavadi bhutam, the limit of negation. In other words, after all illusion is negated, the absolute truth remains. Yes. Again, in Buddhist philosophy, you negate all illusion, and there's nothing. There's nothing. But here, we understand that when you negate all of this Maya, then the absolute truth remains. The personality of Godhead remains. The process of education may be succinctly described as a way of eradicating ignorance through the attainment of knowledge. Through inductive, deductive, and intuitive means, we attempt to refute the specious, the illusory, and the imperfect, and elevate ourselves to a platform of full knowledge. Ultimately, when all illusion is negated, that which remains firmly in place is the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vedic literature, there's a guided process of knowledge by which we look at material truths one after another and negate them. Not this, not this, not this, not this. This is not real, this is not real, this is not real, that is not real. Neti, na iti, neti, neti. Not this, not this, not this, not this. Not earth, not water, not fire, not air, not ether, not mind, not intelligence, not false ego, not the gross body, not the subtle body, not this material cosmic manifestation, not. So, by various philosophical means, inductive, intuitive, deductive, coming to that conclusion that none of this is substantial. But then what remains? Purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vishishite. Krishna remains. In the previous text, the Shiva Jwara described the Supreme Lord as sarvatmanam kevalam gyapti matram. Sarvatmanam kevalam gyapti matram. Pure, concentrated, spiritual consciousness. Now the Shiva Jwara concludes his philosophical description of the Lord by saying in this text that the various aspects of material existence are also potencies of the Supreme Lord. Prasya Shakti Vibhidaya Vishuryate. The Lord has various energies, superior, inferior. Sarva Kalavidam Brahma, this material world, is also a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions that the Supreme Lord's own body and senses, as implied here by the word tan nishedham, are non-different from the Lord's pure spiritual existence. The Lord's body and senses are not external to him, nor do they cover him, but rather the Lord is identical with his spiritual form and senses. The full absolute truth, unlimited and fascinating diversity, is Lord Sri Krishna. Maybe I'll stop here, see what kind of questions there are. Yes. Oh, there you are.
Marge. Marge, you were explaining how the Buddhist can't explain why this cycle of samsara exists. But how maybe I missed it, but how do we explain it? I mean, they may not explain it.
We explain it by, how do we explain this cycle of material existence that the Buddhists can't explain? We explain that it's Krishna's arrangement. Just like, suppose you see there's a jail, there's police, there's people who rob banks, they go to jail. So this is not just like by chance there's jails, by chance, or that somehow or other the existence of thieves causes police, and that causes jails, and jails cause resentment, which makes people evildoers, and that causes, even if you thought that it's a cycle, actually, people go to prison and that makes them criminals, and then they come out and they commit more crimes, and so it's just a vicious cycle. But, what sets up that cycle? Well, in this case, it's the government. Whether you think they botched it or they did a good job, the government set it up. Prisons don't just grow. The government set up this arrangement of law and order and so on. And of course the government doesn't inspire people to become thieves and so on. That's their own business. But Krishna is ultimately behind everything. So why is there karma? Why is it that if, that what goes around comes around, that if I cause pain to you, Eventually it will come back on me. Why should it be like that? Why should it not be that instead I cause pain to you, you cause it to the next person, it goes to the next person, never comes back to me? Just an equally plausible arrangement. Why should it have to come back to me? Why is the world set up in such a way that if I put my hand in a fire, I get burned? Why not I put my hand in the fire and you get burned? You know? So many other possible worlds are there. Why this one? Why set up this way? That's Krishna's arrangement. And why are we in this world? That's our contribution, our independent nature. We have free choice. That's also Krishna's arrangement. We misuse it. Krishna allows that. It's just how all this could pop out of a void really makes no sense. Or how it could pop out of a homogeneous Brahman also makes no sense. How all this diversity could come. There's no sense to it. But from a personality of Godhead, you can get all of this elaboration.
But we need not inquire into, okay, then why did Krishna do it that way? It's just his individuality as a person, and he decided.
Yeah, why does Krishna do it that way? That's his business. He's the chief. And of course, that's what happens when you're in charge, everyone else bitches. Why did he do it this way? If you knew what he was doing. Even Brahma comes in for it, eyelids. He doesn't know what he's doing. The gopis criticized Lord Brahma. So such is the nature of being in charge. But Krishna has his way of doing things. And we accept that Krishna's way of doing things is ultimately benevolent.
Why is that? Why do we see it as ultimately benevolent?
Because we're his devotees, so we think of him that way. The non-devotees, they have their opposite conclusion. He's mean and nasty, or he doesn't exist. But, yes. Krishna's devotees will appreciate that whatever Krishna does is wonderful. And the demons will, what's so wonderful? Nature can do all of this. There's no need of any God. They won't appreciate. Or else they'll say, if there were God, there wouldn't be this. If there were God, there wouldn't be that. Because they don't understand the science of God. They don't understand how things are working. Is that okay? Yes,
Could we take it a step further? You were saying how the devotee sees this as a benevolent arrangement of the Lord. It actually is a real loving arrangement where we get an opportunity to play out our desire to enjoy separately and then eventually come to the frustrated position of understanding that our business is really to love Krishna.
Yeah, it's a loving arrangement, benevolent arrangement. Just think, Krishna's absolute. So the first thing is, it's the arrangement. He's the absolute truth. So you're stuck with it. This is what he is. This is what he is. There's no alternative reality except the one that we create ourselves, which is a mess. He's the absolute truth. So whatever he chooses to do, you can say it's good, you can say it's bad, but he's beyond good and bad because he's absolute. He's not subject to the good and bad of this material world. He just does what he does, and that's his business. Then those who approach Yayatamam Prapajante, being absolute, he'll be whatever you want. You want him to be a stone, he'll be a stone for you. You want him to be mean, he'll be mean for you. You want him to be loving, he'll be loving for you. He is what he, in the Bible, I am what I am. He is what he is. And we're part of him. And therefore our nature is to have some relationship with him. That can be a loving relationship. Or we can have an antagonistic relationship. From one point of view, as you said, that's also Krishna's love, that he'll let you be his antagonist if you want. Or he'll help you forget him if you want. All right, go ahead. So yes, it's Krishna's loving nature. There's a question on the ladies' side. There are always questions on the ladies' side.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to have you. I was wondering, there's so many ways that people explain themselves out of the difficulties that they're having. And we from the Vedic perspective, we actually have the absolute knowledge. But what about everybody else that can explain themselves out of their miseries?
Can explain themselves.
Out of their miseries, somehow.
Everybody has their own self-talk, their own internal dialogue going on. And people explain what's happening to them in their own ways. We explain it according to Vedic literature. And then the conclusion there is, I don't think I quite got. You stole her microphone too soon.
How do they get to a point where they can actually be fine with explaining themselves out of their
How can they get to a way where they're fine with explaining themselves out of what's happening to them?
Right.
Well, they have two choices. One is that they can talk themselves into illusion. That's the usual choice. That actually I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Just got promoted. 3 girlfriends and 1 wife. And this and this and this and this. And hey, those idiots over there, they have problems, but I'm doing fine. You can do it that way. Or however miserable it gets, you can say, well, at least I still have, at least I'm still in charge of I may be a garbage man, but I'm the chief garbage man. Whatever it is, I still have my violin, I still have my self-esteem, I still have, whatever it is. And that's enough for me. Or just a simple formula, well, it could be worse. And since it could be worse, it's not so bad. Since it's not so bad, it's good. So the power of positive thinking. By positive thinking, you can be in a total mess and think you're doing fine. I could be bounded in a nutshell and think myself the Lord of infinite space. So that's one way. The other way is by actually recognizing what a mess we're in and seeing that when I surrender to Krishna, then I'll actually put an end to my miseries. One way is just to talk them down and say, no, it's not so miserable. Or even, you can't really appreciate pleasure without pain. And therefore the pain is just another part of my self-development and growth and my path toward enjoyment. You can do that. Tell yourself that pain is really great fun. But finally, the intelligent person Gyanavan, man prapadyate. He comes to the point of knowledge. He surrenders to Krishna.
Maharaj, this idea of material exhaustion seems to have a little bit to do with this topic. Discussing.
A lot to do.
Yeah, and I'm wondering though, does it become almost permanent? Like, when a person arrives at that point, do they stay there and then they always pursue devotional service?
When a person becomes materially exhausted, does he always pursue devotional service? Well, it's not guaranteed. A person becomes materially exhausted, he approaches Krishna, Krishna helps him out, he feels better, and then he goes back and what is that? Arta, artarti. That, Srila Prabhupada points that out, that when one approaches Krishna for some material motive, then when what you came for, you get what you came for, then you say, okay, fine, now I'm doing good. Thanks. Ciao. So that danger is there, that, when I'm down, and even people, they're in some terrible thing, and then they, oh God, please, and then, they're very pious, or very devout, or completely, everything they learned comes back to them, and then they're out of the tight spot, and back to enjoyment. So that possibility is there. Unless one comes to a strong position of knowledge, a strong position of devotional service, a strong position of detachment. That's the training of Krishna consciousness, to become beyond material motives, hoitaki bhakti, to become mature in knowledge, to become advanced in devotion, so that one stays with it. It may go well, it may go badly, I'm sticking. Yes.
In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, 10 verse, Vitaraga Bhayakridam, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that everybody is born with these three aspects: the negligence of spiritual life, misidentification, fear of spiritual identification, and frustration causing the voidism. And then it reminded me of your discussion that 26 2nd Avenue, when there was a boy from the second story, saw a saffron cloth on the other side of the street. And so the boy named is Stephen, he developed a desire to see who is that saffron cloth. And then he went there and he sat in a corner, and then that saffron cloth happened to be Srila Prabhupada. And after Prabhupada gave the class, then the boy Stephen came in front and asked Prabhupada, can you help me? I come from a frustration to nothingness. I'm practicing this Buddhism, nothing, but I cannot meditate. Srila Prabhupada said, you keep on hearing, nothingness will go away, you will find yourself something. And that is Satsvarup Maharaj. So he explained that how he met Prabhupada. It was very nice. So all the Buddhist followers are frustrated, exhausted, they should come to temple and hear.
Maharaj, just back on this orientation towards God, or his orientation towards us being benevolent. One of our godbrothers, he made the statement that destiny is the language, and
Destiny is?
the language of God.
Destiny is the language of God. Who said that? Someone.
So the question is, well, sometimes destiny brings us a lot of, material misery. If that is the language of God, is God benevolent if we are experiencing a lot of reason?
Yeah. Destiny is the language of God, and the language is according to your action. Just like you do something and your dad says, "You do that again, I'm going to beat the hell out of you." The father is God for the son. You do that again, I'm going to beat the hell out of you. You did it. Bam. That's the language of God. First a warning and then a swat. Nice draft. I'll be very happy, I want you to do this, and then you do it, and then you, oh, wonderful, and you get, something good. It's not that God has to, God uses heavy language. Namam duskritana mudha prapadyate. That's the language of God. You ass, you fool, you lowest among human beings, you miscreant. You rascal with your knowledge stolen by illusion. That's God's language. He doesn't just say, I love you so much. I await for you to return to my kingdom. No, you ass. Okay.
It's God benevolent because
It's better.
I believe Krishna is benevolent because sometimes the person is bad and maybe he go to the jail or something happened with him. But this is the good way because God worked in, how I say, maybe he is going to the jail, but there he will realize the bad he did. And he will come to the point that he will try to find God. In this way, I believe Krishna is good.
Yeah. At least the opportunity is there. Frustration is good, if you realize it. If you don't realize it, then you think jail, and you become more and more anti-God. Person becomes more and more frustrated, and it just goes on, and it becomes more and more convinced that there couldn't be a God. That's according to his desire. But if he's a little fortunate, then when he's in difficulty, he thinks, yes. Sukritana. Arto artarti jigyasu. The person who has a little sukriti, a little pious background, a little spiritual credit, when he's in trouble, it's the great opportunity for him. Yes, now I'm seeing. Otherwise, duskritana mudha, those who are devoid of spiritual assets, practically speaking, they refuse. Apanam asrim yonim apanam mudha janmani mama kapya evakontia tato yantia mam gatim. They forever keep turning away. That's what they want. But that's Krishna's benevolence also. All right, if you want to ignore me, you can ignore me forever. So we're trying to make people fortunate, so that even if they don't today surrender to Krishna, sometime later they'll remember, yes, actually I got this book. Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna. My question is on the Buddhist philosophy. I grew up with my stepfather's family was from Japan, so they were Buddhist. My mother's Western. So on my mother's side, there was a God, although it was impersonal, like there was a God. And my stepfather, who I call my father, taught me, after you come to a stage of wanting nothing, and then you are nothing, and cessation, and there, but when his mother started telling me about like the Dhammapada, and she gave me various things, I ultimately came to Krishna through that because I had read, the Mahabharata. And I even asked her, I said, about Krishna. And she said yes, and they are aware of Krishna, but I don't understand why if it's there. And Lord Buddha is, from Krishna. He's incarnate, then why can't they just accept that?
How?
Why can't they just accept that and when it's there? I mean,
well, they can, but they don't always choose to. Let's see, taking your points one at a time. It's true, like in you could say strict Buddhism, there's ultimately there's nothing and
there was Zen.
But then in sort of popular Buddhism or Buddhism as it's lived, there's devotion. There's devotion. There's devotion to Buddha at least. There's a kind of Buddhism in which it's envisioned that there's a pure land beyond this material world. So they start, even involuntarily, they sort of drift in our direction. They drift toward personalism, because strict impersonalism is untenable. You can't live it, you can't even think it, or stick to that thought. Now, why don't they accept Lord Buddha? One thing, of course, is Buddha's, Krishna's incarnation. One thing is they may never have heard it. And another thing is they've heard it, but they don't give it much importance. You know, we hear it, but it sort of rolls off. It rolls off. But if they hear it again and again, and especially if they hear it from devotees and come in touch with devotees, then they can begin this process and become devotees. Perfection of nirvana. Yeah, it just is, and it always has been. There's no God. This is atheism, Buddhism, science, and so on. One way or another, there's no God. We come to that conclusion. Because unfortunate. But if a person becomes more fortunate, then he can begin to understand. So our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for making the unfortunate fortunate. Just as those here have become fortunate, they can make others fortunate.
Maharaj, to come back to Pran's question, and I think we're all kind of dancing around the same thing, that 10th verse in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita talks about attachment, fear, and anger. And the fear, Prabhupada in the purport talks about fear of a personal relationship with God. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Expand on that.
Fear of personhood. We're supposed to end at 8:45, is that what's... At 9, okay, good. Fear of a personal relationship with God. That's what Prabhupada sometimes called cow in the barn philosophy. Once there was a fire in the barn. Now whenever the cow sees red, she thinks it's a fire. So we have experience of personal relationships, and they're all painful. You know, they're sometimes joyful and fulfilling and so on, but they're so full of pain. Personal relationships are excruciating. So when we hear even our own personal relationship, being a person is painful. We have to live with our minds. We have to live with our feelings. Living with others is painful. Living alone is painful. You can't get out of it. And now when we hear that when we're liberated, we'll still be persons. No. We think that personhood means this same miserable personhood. And so we don't want it. I want to get free from this. I want liberation. And it's just like Prabhupada gave the example, there was someone in the hospital and he's eating is painful, walking is painful, talking is painful. And the nurse says, Mr. Rogers, you're getting better, and when you really get better again, you'll eat as much as you want, you'll walk, you'll talk, you'll think, no, I don't want to eat. I don't want to walk. It's painful. He thinks it's painful. Even sometimes, walking means they have to, they've been in bed now for 3 months, and they have to get up and walk with a device or a person helping them. And it's painful. Walking is painful. And so some days, no, I don't want to. Can I just stay in bed? But by that walking, his muscles grow back to their natural tone, and he walks very nicely, and he's happy, and it's good. That's his healthy condition. Or the example, sugarcane juice is bitter for the person who has jaundice. But you take that sugarcane juice, take it becomes sweet. So in the beginning, sadhana bhakti, but in the end, or along the way, it starts to become sweet, and when we're cured, then it's luscious. Yes, in the back. What can go further than that? Oh yeah, well, we'll try not to go too much further, because then everybody feels pinned, and that's not nice.
Well, I'll try to be brief, Maharaj. One is that in regard to Buddhism, of course, most Buddhist practice now is not really coming from Vishnu Avatar Buddha, but because Buddha was a generic name for people who were enlightened. Many of the teachings that have passed down in Buddhism now are not from the original Vishnu Buddha, but from different people who then espoused according to their realizations later on, but who had the generic title of a Buddha. So that's why you probably get so much diversity and the inability to necessarily identify with the Krishna Avatar Buddha. So that would be the other. The other thing, Maharaj, was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written that until the living entity comes to Saranagati, it's very difficult to digest how his position here in the world is and what happened and why am I here and so forth, because we're in the state of like a disagreement, and it's almost like until someone admits, yeah, it was my fault, then some reconciliation can start to take place. But as long as we think, well, look, I'm supposed to be the enjoyer, but you're the enjoyer, there's this competition going on, it's not really reconcilable for a jiva.
Yeah. Great. Janmashti Prabhu.
I was hearing Jayadvaita Swami lecturing recently, and he was talking about how Prabhupada said that when Lord Buddha left, he put Lord Vishnu in charge of Sri Lanka, so that most of the Buddhist temples in Sri Lanka have Vishnu Murtis.
When Buddha left,
when he left
the world, he put Vishnu.
He put Lord Vishnu in charge of Sri Lanka. So the Sri Lanka Buddhists, they have Vishnu Murtis in most of the temples in Sri Lanka. So they maintain Lord Vishnu, but it's kind of a Gyato Sukriti. It's not actual bhakti that they worshipped him with. But the interesting point. I'd never heard it before.
I've never heard it before either. It's beyond my my jurisdiction of knowledge.
Yeah, I've got a quick comment. Buddhists always seem very cheerful. I mean, is there anything in this? I mean, the Dalai Lama's always got a nice smile, and people from Thailand and people like that. I mean, does this mean anything?
Well, I heard the Dalai Lama speak at one conference organized by His Holiness Sri Damodar Maharaj, and Up to a point, actually, we agree with him. He has an understanding that this material world is not the ultimate, not what it's cracked up to be, that it's of an illusory nature. He has at least that teaching, that the body and mind are not the self. So when we get free from that sense of, that's a lot of excess baggage off our life. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, this world is not everything. That's, in one sense, that gives you some buoyancy. But then beyond that, it starts to get kind of fuzzy. I won't talk at length about what he said, which I don't remember that well. In any case, it got sort of fuzzy, and it didn't go into deep, serious, nihilistic Buddhism anyway. He can be cheerful because he's selling a lot of books. If you, I can't, I don't want to speak to the personal existence of the Dalai Lama and what he's, why he's happy or cheerful or, that's all beyond my saying. I don't know the gentleman. But at least that much, that if you're above just the what's the word? The striving and the craving for material things, that will put you in a more peaceful and happy position. Excuse me? Is it ignorance is bliss? Well, again, everyone's in ignorance and not everyone's equally blissful. But we would say, I suppose, that anyone who doesn't recognize the personality of Godhead is in ignorance. And if he's still cheery, then that's the bliss of ignorance. I've found that, something in my philosophy that makes everything fit together without God, so I'm happy. I've got it all worked out, like scientists, they've got it all worked out how material nature does everything, and so there's no need of God, and they're happy. Got rid of him. So the Buddhists can do the same thing, by a different, or actually not so different philosophical approach. They can work it all out so that everything just goes around in a circle. Everything originates from something, which originates from something, which originates from the starting place and goes around again. And so there's no need of got rid of him. So they can be happy also. But that happiness is ultimately illusory, or as Prabhupada says, the last snare of Maya. The impersonalists are happy, particularly the Nirvisheshvadis, the followers of Shankara. They've got some happiness. The happiness of knowing Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spirit soul. That's a happiness. Brahmabhuta prasanatmana shojati nakangshati. No hankering, no lamenting. Samasarveshu bhuteshu, seeing everything the same. But higher than that, mad bhaktim labhate param, is to come to the point of seeing the personality of Godhead and engaging in his service. Then the happiness of impersonal realization becomes like the water in the hoof print of a calf compared to the ocean of happiness. Just to be cheery, you buy a ticket at the airline counter and the attendant is cheery, Have a good day. But just, cheers and a good smile is different from actual happiness. Real happiness is something much deeper than a jovial spirit. And we're at 9 o'clock. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Do it with enthusiasm and some, because you're trying to please Krishna, that gives pleasure. Just like if you're cooking for your family.